A black woman walks into first class, confident, successful, and holding a ticket for seat 2A. But within seconds, a white passenger claims the seat is hers and refuses to move. What happened next? The flight was grounded, security was called, and the world watched as a quiet act of dignity turned into a viral lesson in respect. This is the story of Jordan Baker and the seat that exposed everything. "Excuse me," Jordan Baker said, her voice calm but firm as she stood in the narrow aisle of the first-class cabin. "I believe you're in my seat." She held her boarding pass out politely, showing 2A printed clearly in bold. The woman in the seat didn't even look up at first, as if Jordan's presence was too small to matter. Blonde bob, oversized sunglasses, flawless red nails, gripping a glass of pre-flight champagne. She looked like someone used to getting her way. When she finally glanced up, her eyes did a full scan of Jordan. The dark skin, the sleek high bun, the sharply tailored black suit that screamed success, the calm confidence that accompanied her like perfume. The woman's expression twisted, just slightly, into a smug smirk. "I don't think so," she replied, her tone drenched in fake sweetness. "This is my seat. 2A. Jordan blinked, unfazed. "I double-checked the gate and the boarding pass. I'm sure this is my seat." Still seated, the woman gave an exaggerated sigh and finally put down her glass. "Look," she said, gesturing lazily with her hand. "Maybe you got mixed up. Coach is just down the aisle." A couple of passengers nearby turned to watch. Something about the interaction had frozen the space around them. An awkward silence filled the cabin. Jordan kept her cool. She had dealt with boardroom battles tougher than this. She had been overlooked, underestimated, and dismissed her entire career. But she always won with facts, not fury. She held out her boarding pass to the flight attendant now approaching. "Sorry to bother," Jordan said calmly, "but there seems to be some confusion." The attendant, a young man in his 30s, glanced at the ticket. 2A. "Yes, you're in the right place, ma'am. Let me check the manifest." He tapped on his tablet. The woman in the seat crossed her legs, visibly irritated now. "I've flown this route dozens of times. First class is always 2A. This is my seat." The attendant looked up again, gently but clearly. "Ma'am, your ticket says 3C. That's the other side of the aisle, just one row back." The woman didn't move. Her eyes narrowed. "Well, I always sit here. What's the big deal? It's just a seat. She can take 3C." Jordan's brows rose slightly, but she still didn't raise her voice. "With respect, I paid for 2A. This was not a random upgrade. It's mine." The attendant tried again. "We can help you settle into 3C right now. We'd like to get everyone boarded and on time." The woman let out a small laugh, sharp and cold. "This is unbelievable. You're really going to make me move for her." Her voice was louder now and deliberately pointed. The emphasis on her landed with the subtle venom only the experienced ear could catch. But in that moment, the tone was unmistakable, dismissive, elitist, and yes, racist. Jordan felt at her bones, but she didn't flinch. She'd been through worse in boardrooms, investor meetings, and on national TV. She stood her ground without taking a single step forward. "I'm not asking you to move," Jordan replied. "I'm telling you, this seat was assigned to me. Your issue isn't with me. It's with the facts." The woman huffed and muttered under her breath. "This is exactly why first class doesn't feel like first class anymore." By now, several passengers had turned fully in their seats, phones in hand. A few were recording quietly, trying not to be obvious. A young couple in the back whispered, "Is she really refusing to move?" While an older man 2 rows behind Jordan shook his head in disapproval. The attendant tried one final time. "Ma'am, you're delaying boarding. I'm kindly asking you to take your assigned seat so we can depart on time." The woman didn't budge. She folded her arms, stared at Jordan, and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I don't sit next to people like her." That was it. Gasps echoed through the cabin. The atmosphere turned electric, like the moment before a lightning strike. Jordan looked at her, her face unreadable. She said nothing. She didn't need to. The moment had already revealed more about this woman than any outburst ever could. And just like that, The flight was no longer just about takeoff. It had turned into a battle of pride, prejudice, and poise, and everyone was watching. The entire cabin froze. The moment those words left her mouth, "I don't sit next to people like her," it was as if someone had slammed the brakes on time itself. Even the hum of the jet engines seemed to dim. Jordan Baker remained standing, tall and composed, her face as calm as if she were still in a board meeting. But inside, a storm had started to swirl. Not of anger, not of fear, but of that deep, familiar ache that only comes when dignity is challenged in public, for no reason other than the color of your skin. The white woman didn't seem to grasp what she had just said. Or maybe she did and didn't care. Either way, her statement echoed in everyone's mind. The flight attendant's eyes widened. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to watch your tone." That comment was inappropriate and offensive. The woman gave a smug shrug. "I'm just being honest. I paid for a premium experience. I expect a certain standard." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "And what exactly do you think I am? A downgrade?" There was no shout in her voice. No rage. Just cold, articulate precision. The kind of tone that cuts sharper than a scream ever could. The woman leaned back in her seat, as if she were the victim. "Why does everything have to be about race with you people? You people." That phrase landed with the weight of centuries. A few passengers gasped audibly now. The young man in seat 1B lowered his phone and shook his head. "You've got to be kidding me," he muttered. A woman in the middle row whispered, "She really said that out loud?" The atmosphere shifted. It was no longer just an awkward disagreement. It had become a public display of arrogance and entitlement. And it was being watched and recorded. Jordan noticed the blinking red light on a phone 3 seats back. She didn't mind. In fact, she hoped someone was recording. Because sometimes silence is powerful, but receipts are louder. The flight attendant tried once more to calm things down. "Ma'am, we cannot delay this flight any longer. You need to move to your assigned seat in 3C. "Already told you," the woman snapped. "I'm not moving. And if she doesn't like it, she can go sit somewhere else. Or get off the plane." Jordan's jaw tightened. This wasn't about a seat anymore. This was about place. About who was allowed in spaces of power, luxury, and privilege. And Jordan had spent her whole life breaking down those invisible barriers. She stepped just a little closer, still leaving space, still composed. "You think this seat defines you. But what defines you is how you treat people. And right now, you're making it very clear what kind of person you are." The woman snorted. "Whatever. I'll call the airline. I have status with them." Jordan tilted her head. "And I have values. You can't buy those with miles." That line got a chuckle from someone in row 2. Another passenger clapped once, just once, but it was enough to signal which way the cabin's opinion was turning. The woman sensed she was losing the crowd. Her bravado began to slip. She picked up her phone and started tapping furiously. "I'm calling corporate, and I'll have you both reported. You'll be sorry." Jordan simply shook her head, finally taking a deep breath. "Report me for what? For asking for the seat I paid for? Or for being black in first class?" No answer. The woman turned to the flight attendant. "Fine. Get your supervisor. I'm not moving unless the pilot tells me to." And as if summoned by fate, at that very moment, the cockpit door opened, and out stepped the pilot, tall, serious, and clearly annoyed. "What's going on here?" he asked. The flight attendant explained quickly, sparing no detail. The pilot's face darkened. He turned directly to the woman in 2A. "Ma'am, you're delaying our flight. You are in the wrong seat. And if you do not comply, you will be removed from this aircraft." The woman blinked. "What? Are you serious? You're going to side with her?" "I'm siding with facts," the pilot replied. "Now, either move to your seat, or we'll call airport security." Silence. Jordan didn't move. The woman didn't move. But the tension did. It shifted from heat to consequence. Because now it wasn't just about bias. It was about rules, respect, and removal. The fuse was lit. And the plane? It wasn't going anywhere. Not yet. The air inside the plane was tense, thick with disbelief and quiet outrage. The pilot, Captain Reynolds, stood tall near the front of the cabin, arms crossed, his navy blue uniform sharp and commanding. His presence alone brought a sudden hush over the passengers. The first-class drama had now become a flight delay, and all eyes were on what would happen next. He'd heard the full summary from the flight attendant and had already watched the confrontation unfold on the crew's internal camera. He didn't need further confirmation. He had seen and heard enough. He turned his full attention to the white woman still seated in 2A, her arms crossed, face red, lips tight. "Ma'am," he said in a clipped, professional tone, "you are in violation of federal airline regulations. You are in the incorrect seat, and you have refused repeated instructions to move to your assigned seat." The woman's voice, shaky with frustration, shot back. "This is unbelievable. I paid for this seat. I deserve this seat. Why are you siding with her?" "Because the records show you are assigned to seat 3C. The pilot responded evenly. "This seat, 2A, belongs to Ms. Baker." The woman's eyes widened. "Ms. who?" Jordan, still standing with quiet authority, met the woman's gaze. "Jordan Baker," she said, "founder and CEO of Syntex. Maybe next time, Google before assuming someone's beneath you." Several passengers murmured, some recognizing the name now. One person even whispered, "Isn't she on the Forbes list?" The woman scoffed. "So what? I don't care who she is. This isn't about race. It's about me being disrespected." But her voice was cracking now. The audience wasn't with her anymore. Not the pilot, not the crew, and certainly not the dozen passengers now openly recording her meltdown on their phones. The pilot didn't flinch. "We've asked you multiple times to comply. If you do not move to your assigned seat within 60 seconds, I will call airport security and have you removed from this aircraft." Jordan quietly took her seat, finally, in 2A. She didn't smile, didn't gloat, didn't even look at the woman again. She simply placed her laptop bag under the seat in front of her, powered on her MacBook, and opened a spreadsheet as if nothing had happened. The woman stood abruptly. "Fine. You want me to move? I'll move. But trust me, this airline is going to hear from my attorney." The pilot raised a brow. "You're welcome to file a complaint after you move." She stormed to 3C, slamming into the seat as if she'd been forced into a prison cell. Her sunglasses were back on, but not before everyone had seen the flush of humiliation rising across her cheeks. But it wasn't over. Moments later, she pulled out her phone and started filming herself. "Hey guys," she said, turning the camera to selfie mode. "I just experienced reverse discrimination on this flight. They kicked me out of my seat to accommodate someone else." The pilot turned and nodded to the flight attendant, who disappeared briefly and came back with two uniformed TSA security officers. "Is there a problem?" one of them asked firmly. The pilot pointed to the woman. "She's been non-compliant, refused to follow staff instructions, and is disrupting the flight." The woman's jaw dropped. "You're seriously calling security on me?" "I did nothing wrong." The officer replied, "Ma'am, please gather your belongings." "No, I'm not getting off. I didn't do anything." Passengers started clapping, actual applause. "Thank you." Finally, one man said aloud. "This flight was supposed to leave 40 minutes ago," someone shouted from economy. Security repeated the order, more forcefully this time. "Ma'am, if you refuse to leave voluntarily, we'll have to escort you off." After a tense few seconds, the woman muttered curses under her breath, grabbed her Gucci tote, and stormed off the plane, her phone still filming as she disappeared up the jet bridge. Silence filled the cabin once more. Then the pilot cleared his throat. "Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the delay. We'll resume boarding and prepare for takeoff shortly. Thank you for your patience." As he returned to the cockpit, Jordan closed her laptop for a moment and glanced out the window. It was over, but only on the surface. Because the real story? It was just beginning, and the internet was about to explode. The plane finally took off, 47 minutes behind schedule. But no one would remember the delay. They'd remember the woman escorted off the flight. They'd remember the black woman who held her dignity like a shield. And they'd remember how quickly the truth traveled once the internet got hold of it. Because while Jordan Baker sat quietly in her rightful seat, powering through emails like a boss, 3 rows back, a young college student named Maya had been recording the entire incident from her phone. She hadn't planned to post it. But after witnessing how Jordan was treated, how calm and composed she stayed, Maya knew this wasn't just a moment. It was a message. Hours later, once she landed and connected to Wi-Fi, Maya uploaded the video to TikTok. She gave it a simple caption. This black woman had her first-class seat stolen. Watch what happens next. Eyes raised, fist medium skin tone, hashtag flying while black, hashtag first-class respect. She hit post, put her phone away, didn't think much of it. 10 minutes later, it had 20,000 views. By the end of the hour, it crossed 500,000. By midnight, 2.4 million. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, it was everywhere. Comments poured in by the thousands. Speaking head, the way she handled that with class. Queen energy. Speaking head, that woman thought Jordan was just another passenger, didn't know she was talking to a CEO. Speaking head, people still think first class is only for a certain kind of person. Not anymore. Screenshots of Jordan's face, calm and composed in seat 2A, became memes overnight. She booked 2A and took the high road instead. Seat 2A. Attitude, A1. Black excellence, boarded on time. The Karen? She got canceled. Even celebrities started reposting the clip. Actress Gabrielle Union retweeted the video with the caption, "This is what grace under fire looks like. Respect to Jordan Baker." Crown. A-list entrepreneur and Shark Tank investor Damon John commented, "People like her are the reason we fight for representation in boardrooms, tech, and planes." But the internet wanted to know more. Who was this woman? Why did she carry herself like she had nothing to prove? And then someone Googled her name. They found the Forbes 30 Under 30 profile. They found interviews with Bloomberg, CNN, and TechCrunch. They found out she was the founder and CEO of Syntex, a cutting-edge software company valued at $400 million. A self-made tech visionary. A role model. It didn't take long before her social media DMs were flooded. Thousands of supportive messages from black professionals, young women in tech, single moms, college grads, even airline staff. Jordan's response? One single tweet, elegant and cutting. Success doesn't shield you from racism, but staying grounded will always take you higher. Airplane. It got 250,000 likes in one day. Meanwhile, the airline, now in the center of a PR storm, scrambled to issue a statement. Their official press release read, "We take all customer incidents seriously. Our crews are trained to uphold fairness and dignity in every cabin. We've reached out to Ms. Baker personally to express our support and appreciation for her patience." But that wasn't enough for the public. People demanded accountability. Hashtags like hashtag reform the friendly skies and hashtag black passengers matter started trending. And then the second video surfaced. Someone else from the plane, seated farther back, had captured the moment the disruptive woman was escorted out. In the footage, she could be heard yelling, "You'll all regret this. I'm going to ruin her." That clip sealed her fate. Internet sleuths quickly discovered her identity. A boutique fashion consultant from Florida who had, until that point, a modest online following. Within 24 hours, her Instagram was deactivated. Her website disappeared. Clients began pulling out. The court of public opinion had spoken, loudly, but Jordan never once mentioned her name, never asked for revenge, never posted a "told you so." Instead, she used her sudden viral fame to amplify others. She posted a thread highlighting black women in aviation, black-owned travel startups, and shared scholarship links for young girls pursuing STEM careers. She turned a viral moment into a movement. Jordan understood something powerful. It's not just about winning the seat. It's about making room for others at the table and making sure no one ever questions whether they belong. This story wasn't just about a seat. It was about a symbol, a mirror held up to society at 36,000 feet, showing us the quiet but persistent battle for dignity that black professionals, especially black women, still face in spaces of power and privilege. When Jordan Baker boarded that plane, she didn't do it to prove anything. She had already done the work. She had already earned her place, not just in first class, but in the world. She built a tech empire from scratch, earned her seat at the corporate table, and reshaped the startup landscape with nothing but brains, grit, and discipline. And yet, despite all that, she was still judged by the color of her skin before a single word left her mouth. The woman in 2A didn't ask for her name, didn't check her ticket, didn't wonder who she might be. She looked at Jordan, saw a black woman in a tailored suit, and instantly decided, she doesn't belong here. And that's where the lesson lies. Because too often, success is not enough to shield you from stereotypes. Too often, black people have to carry not only their credentials, but their composure like armor, constantly proving they earn the right to simply be in certain rooms, rows, or roles. Jordan could have exploded. She could have screamed, cursed, or flipped the narrative. And who would have blamed her? Instead, she chose power and poise. She chose grace under pressure. She chose to let the facts and the cameras speak for her. Her actions reminded us that how you respond to hate can be just as powerful as whether or not you respond at all. She didn't play the victim. She didn't demand sympathy. She simply stood in her truth and let the world adjust around her, not the other way around. That's strength. That's leadership. That's what Black excellence looks like in motion. And the impact? It went far beyond viral clips or hashtags. Jordan received hundreds of letters from young women who said they saw themselves in her. One student wrote, "Now I don't feel nervous about applying to jobs where I'm the only black girl in the room." Another said, "Watching you gave me the confidence to stop dimming my light at work." This wasn't just a seat on a plane anymore. It was a spark, a catalyst. The conversation spread to mainstream media. Television talk shows debated the unspoken rules of elite spaces. Studio microphone podcasts delve into the psychology of racial bias in travel and luxury. Newspapers published op-eds about implicit entitlement and first-class gatekeeping. Suddenly, airlines were under pressure to retrain staff, revise policy, and listen to passengers of color more closely. Some airlines launched Respect in the Skies initiatives. Others reached out to Jordan privately, offering speaking engagements and advisory roles on inclusion councils. But Jordan wasn't interested in sponsorships or staged apologies. Instead, she used her new platform to build bridges. She launched a campaign called Seat at Every Table, a mentorship program that connects high school girls of color with women in executive leadership. Her message was clear. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for fairness. And we will no longer be silent when denied the space we've already earned. Her story became required reading in some corporate DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion trainings. A university case study was written about it. Even some pilot schools incorporated it into ethics modules, using it as a real-world example of bias at altitude. And yet, for all the impact, Jordan remained grounded. In one interview, when asked how she stayed so composed in the face of that woman's insults, she said, "I didn't stay calm for her. I stayed calm for the young girl watching who might one day face the same thing. I wanted her to see another way, a better way." So what's the takeaway? It's not just that racism still exists in spaces people pretend are post-racial. It's not just that power doesn't protect you from prejudice. It's that the way we respond to ignorance matters. That standing tall, without raising your voice, can sometimes shake the system more than shouting ever could. That dignity is not weakness, and that everyone deserves to sit, without question, without fear, wherever they've rightfully earned their place. The flight took off that day, but what really soared was awareness, respect, and a reminder that no one gets to decide where you belong but you. You just heard a story that matters. At Brain Fuel, we bring you real moments, raw truths, and powerful lessons. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and fuel your mind with every story we tell.